World Lacrosse Men's Championship presented by Rady Children's Hospital. We welcome you to sunny San Diego, California and Snapdragon Stadium. It's a global showcase for the sport of lacrosse. We begin with the two best teams in the world. The United States, the reigning gold medalist, against the runner-up from 2018, Canada. A short while ago, opening ceremonies took place, and we saw the world of lacrosse gather here in Southern California, from the Haudenosaunee to Jamaica to the Peruvians. A true global showcase for the sport of lacrosse. And with that, we say good evening on the East Coast. It is Lacrosse After Dark. Anish Shroff, Quint Kesnick with you. We're just getting started here in San Diego. And Q, you think of this sport, it's having a moment. Championship weekend at the NCAA level generated a ton of buzz. The NLL finals, jam-packed stadiums. PLL, one-goal games galore. Now the World Games, all building momentum toward LA in 2028, the Olympics.
The lacrosse revolution is alive and well here in the States, but it's gone global. There's 86 countries now that play lacrosse. 30 of them qualified for this event. And while the USA and Canada may be the headliners, they may decide this thing. They'll earn the gold. I think the big story is the Olympic inclusion that is awaiting lacrosse potentially in 2028, which would be just ginormous for the sport.
The prologue to this tournament, and certainly this game, is the championship game, the gold medal game from 2018 in Netanya, Israel, US and Canada. Physical game. Players described it as a football game being played with lacrosse sticks, and some controversy at the very end.
It was tight throughout. Curtis Dixon scored that goal for Canada late. The U.S. with a flurry as it's tied 8-8. Tommy Schreiber scores on a Rob Pannell feed with fractions of a second, or maybe not. There was some confusion as to what the clock read. U.S. is given the 9-8 victory.
A couple of Canadian coaches mentioned the clock when we spoke to them before the game.
They did.
It's still on their minds. Rob Pannell had the game-winning assist in that championship.
He's playing in his third World Championship. He's a Long Island native, the 33-year-old who was a star at Cornell. He'll be the calming influence for this offense.
For the U.S. to score, they'll have to get it by Dylan Ward. In 2014, when Canada won the gold medal, he was the MVP of the World Championships.
Dominated that championship game. It's an 8-5 final. He's a big game hunter, whether it's international stage or whether it's the PLL. You remember last September, took home the gold for the Water Dogs. He's done it indoor as well. This guy thrives on the big moments.
We've got the landing and the opening face-off coming your way. The last four World Championships, the gold was won by either U.S. or Canada. They play next. The 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship is sponsored by Rady Children's Hospital, the largest children's hospital on the West Coast, ranked among the 10 best children's hospitals in the nation. Anish Shroff, Quint Kesnick in San Diego, California. Pretty good crowd on hand for opening ceremonies and the opening game of these World Championships. You see Matt Brown in his third World Lacrosse Championship appearance. First as head coach for Team Canada, recently promoted to be Denver's new head coach, succeeding the great Bill Tierney. And on the U.S. sideline, you've got John Danowski, winningest coach in Division I. He's the head coach at Duke. 3 national championships with the Blue Devils, just played in a national championship game on Memorial Day. He led Team USA to a gold medal in 2018.
Spoke to Matt Brown just moments ago. His big point of emphasis was this is where the building process starts. This is the first competition of an event that'll last more than 10 days. He likes his team on paper, but games aren't won and lost on paper. Looking for combinations that can bring some magic to the table.
And this game, different rules. We'll get into the international rules, but expect a feeling out process for both teams. Which matchups work? Where are the tactical advantages? The expectation is that we'll see these two again in the gold medal game.
And while this game is a pool play game, I think when you step out onto the pitch and you see the jersey of a 9, a Trevor Baptiste, and you see a Brody Merrill, a 17 with the Canada jersey, there's a certain adrenaline that these athletes are going to bring to the table today. This game matters.
Trevor Baptiste, the face-off man for Team USA, 9 in white. Justin Inacio, number 88 in red for Team Canada. And Baptiste looked like he had it, kicks it ahead. And possession to the United States and Liam Burns. Some different rules. There is no shot clock, but there is a subjective stall warning, going back to some now antiquated NCAA rules. 15-minute periods.
Antiquated, that's kind.
We'll have a running clock until the last 30 seconds of the first 3 quarters and the last 2 minutes of the 4th quarter.
Face-offs are a little bit different, if you know, as you noticed on that first draw. It's a knee down. Motorcycle grip is legal, so you'll see longer face-off scrums.
Now Michael Sowers plays for the PLL Water Dogs, led them to a championship last year. Behind the cage, here comes Matt Rambo, former MVP at the pro level. It's a Wharton winner in college. He throws it away. Canada will have its first possession.
Notable about the U.S., Michael Sowers and Brennan O'Neill starting at midfield, flanking Tom Schreiber. So you have 2 natural attackmen playing that first midfield line.
Those 2 played together for 1 season at Duke. Canada now with the ball. 51 is Jeff Teat. In 2018, he played for Team Canada as a rising junior at Cornell and more than held his own against the best in the world. Now he is one of the best in the world. This is Dyson Williams, 15 in red, coming off a 60-goal season at Duke. Now Jeff Teat. Back up top to Josh Byrne on that silver medal team in 2018. And here comes Dane Smith, 2-time MVP in the NLL, coming off an NLL championship with Buffalo. Again, no shot clock. The officials can yell, keep it in. And then the offense has to keep it in under inside that attack line.
Interesting to watch these matchups. JT Giles Harris on Josh Byrne.
This is Wesley Berg, feeds the wing. Dane Smith has a short stick. We're looking for the cutter. Josh Byrne will get a loose ball push on Team USA. It stays with Canada.
This game is a test drive, okay, for both players and coaches. Again, looking for combinations, looking for matchups, looking to see who plays well together, gauging the opponent, okay? What are they giving us? What's their slide mentality? What's their double mentality? And it's going to be played extremely patient compared to a college game.
Or even pro lacrosse. Here comes Teat against Matt Dunn. Teat with the assist to Ryan Lee, who gets the first tally for Team Canada. Ryan Lee coming off a strong postseason in the NLL with the Colorado Mammoth, leading them to the championship series.
Teat off the 2-man game. It's a pick and slip, and then from the far side, he just curls right-handed through the double screen, gets top side, and watch him shoot this about 3/4 sidearm. Beats Jack Kelly low. Like, I think the challenge for goalies, a guy like Jack Kelly, who's coming out of the PLL, Manish, where there is a 32-second shot clock, and sometimes a 52-second shot clock, he's got to just stay awake. Like, he may need some no-dos in the crease, because this game is going to be played at a much slower pace.
The PLL, it's back and forth, end-to-end action. You see a lot of that in the NLL as well. Baptiste wins it with a clean exit. And let's see if the U.S. takes its time or goes quickly. And in this setting, again, without a shot clock, I don't think you're going to see a ton of transition. It's going to be more settled sets.
Much fewer possessions than we're typically used to, which means that mistakes are penalized severely.
Here comes Ryan Conrad. Risky feed. Rob Pinnell had it, lost it, back to Team Canada.
So that kind of turnover is costly. It could cost you 3 minutes of game clock.
It's 2 possessions, 0 shots for the U.S. Teat dumps it to Josh Byrne, former MLL Rookie of the Year, former #1 pick in the Indoor League.
Josh Byrne and Jeff Teat ultimately will be the focal point of this Canadian offense. 2-man games on the left side between 51 and 22. Not sure you'll see a lot of that tonight, though.
Here's Connor Fields, former 4-time All-American at Albany.
A lot of good lefties on this Team Canada roster.
Now Zach Currier.
He's one of them.
Currier, Da Vinci, and cleats.
Currier, Teat, Fields, Byrne, all lefties.
And Dyson Williams. Here comes Byrne, looking for an opening behind the cage to Teat. Jack Kelly, the former Brown Bear, in goal for Team USA, looking for Ryan Lee on the cut. It comes back, picked up by Latrell Harris. And Canada, again, methodically going back to work.
I think long-term, the strategy in defending Canada for the U.S. will be slow double teams, slow slides. Make Canada score unassisted goals. Make them beat you off the dribble.
Byrne being guarded by Danny Logan, 2-time reigning Shorty of the Year in the PLL. 19 in white. Now Lee, who scored that first goal in 2022, saw his NLL season get cut short with a devastating knee injury. Back to Byrne, Logan right there with him. Byrne forced to his right hand, Logan denying the left, jarred it loose. Byrne able to pick it back up. Byrne doubled, and that throw off the cross of Currier, who keeps it in bounds. And now we get our first stall warning. So Canada has to keep it in the attack box, but the attack box goes sideline to sideline. So there's a lot of room to keep it in, more so than when they called the stall warning back in the college days. And that will be a turnover. Coming up to touch the ball momentarily, 17 in red, a living legend, the great Brody Merrill. He'll be 42 in November. Standout at Georgetown, a 10-time All-Star as a pro.
5th World Championship, okay? Do the math, that's 5 times 4. That's 20 years of playing at an elite level. And he actually represented Canada in the U19s way back in 1999. The big lefty, the best off-ball defender that I have ever watched.
We come up on 7 minutes to play. Sneaking and snaking inside. Michael Sowers, the goal counts. And the U.S. pulls even at 1.
Sowers is synonymous with speed. Here's a jackrabbit. He's got a matchup against Casey Wilson, the young defender out of Denver via Victoria, British Columbia, and Sowers just beats him goal line extended. Tiptoes the crease. Tied up at 1-1 and what feels like a slow tempo game.
.654 to go, opening quarter, opening game of the 2023 World Championships. Canada and the U.S. tied at 1. It is the 14th edition of the World Lacrosse Men's Championship. The U.S., 10-time gold medalists, 3 silvers. Canada, a 3-time gold medalist. They last took silver in 2018. 30 teams represented here in San Diego.
It's amazing. You think about the global growth. Back 20 years ago, in 2003, there were 16 international members. We now have 86 in 2023, okay? The top 30 are here, and they'll play for 10 days. They'll rank them all, and then they'll put them in a bracket, and the winner takes all. I'm eager, Anish, to see teams like Israel, Puerto Rico, and Japan And we watched the opening ceremonies moments ago. I mean, how cool was it to see Peru come out, Uganda walk out, Scotland with their kilts. We had Lederhosen.
Was that Austria?
Just the shapes, the sizes, the colors, the flavor. It was unbelievable. One of the coolest days every 4 years.
In this case, 5 years because of COVID. Here's Rob Pennell against Brody Merrill. What a matchup.
It's like 100 years of lacrosse experience.
Tremendous. Charlie Bertrand, three-time national champion in college, 2 at Merrimack, 1 at Virginia. And Connor Kelly.
Kelly, Bertrand, and Conrad.
Pennell trying to get top side. Shoots it wide. It's backed up by Kieran McCardle. Closest to the ball. Where and when it goes out of bounds on a shot, awarded possession.
And then this attack, Kieran McCardle, Matt Rambo, University of Maryland, and Pennell.
Here comes Bertrand. Checked by Casey Wilson.
From a roster construction standpoint in each, the U.S. went defense heavy. They dressed 4 players who are defensive midfielders, 6 poles, okay? They're a little shorthanded on offense, but because of the slow tempo, they wanted to invest in defensive personnel.
Graham Hosick, one of the best defenders in the NLL, did a nice job on Ryan Conrad. Now Connor Kelly. Picked up by Ryland Reese. Gets a stick on it, and Reese, who's Kelly's teammate with the Water Dogs, comes up with the takeaway.
Reese is an all-world LSM. You said Water Dogs. Stony Brook was a member of this Canadian team in 2018 and does his best work on the wings of faceoffs.
That last possession off the turnover, Canada pushing. You're watching a pro game, you're watching a college game, normally you go. Normally, that's an opportunity to attack, transition, unsettled, without the shot clock. The way this game is structured, teams slam on the brakes.
International lacrosse, the rules are dictated by the vast populace of nations. Okay, if this were up to the U.S. and Canada, they'd put up a 25-second shot clock.
No doubt.
And go punch for punch all night. But this tournament dates back to the 1960s, and the bylaws are that the emerging nations really get to pick the rules.
There comes Byrne off the skirt of the net. Kelly able to bring it in. How about Jack Kelly? Right before the start of the 2018 games, he tore his ACL and could not participate. John Galloway was the starting goalie for Team USA.
28-year-old Jack Kelly from Brown, West Islip, Long Island. That's the South Shore of Suffolk County. Redwood's PLL Goalie of the Year back in 2017. His parents, Dennis and Megan, and he's been through a lot with that ACL. Good to see him back in career form this summer, the righty for the Redwoods.
Pennell against Brody Merrill.
Look at Brody. And Pennell looks at the official like, he can't hit me like that. That snuck in.
Oh, that went in. That's going to be a goal for the United States.
This will happen every now and then. This is a feed to the inside thrown with some spice, like you get your tacos in Old Town. Grace and I had tacos in La Jolla for lunch today, the best of my life, and this may have even been tipped. But that was a pass clearly to the inside, and as a goaltender, you got to track the trajectory of the ball. It's really difficult to do because the assumption is that the offensive player is going to catch. Not sure if Sauer's got a piece of it, but that's just a tough luck goal for Dylan Ward. And let me tell you, when you're a guy like Dylan Ward who's been playing forever, you've given up those before. That's water. Water off your shoulders, no big deal.
Brennan O'Neill made the pass. O'Neill is the lone collegiate player on Team USA. Coming off a spectacular season with Duke, he won the Tewaaraton Award, led the nation in points. And we get a timeout by Team Canada. The U.S. up 2-1, 2:17 to go in this opening quarter. The U.S. and Canada have met in the championship game in the last 6 World Games, and Matt Brown taking over this year as Team Canada's head coach, and he will take over as Denver's head coach next spring for the Pioneers, succeeding Bill Tierney.
That's big news. I was texting with Coach Tierney, who will be at this event later on this week, but Matt Brown will take over for the Pioneers. A program that's won a national title, a program that has always mined athletes from the West Coast and from Canada. And you think about the growth of this game across the United States. Denver's had a strong impact, Anish, in growing this game west of the Mississippi.
It's a big reason why we're in San Diego. We were in Denver in 2014 when Canada won the gold medal. And listen, the history between these two in this event runs deep.
I was at actually called the '98 final in Baltimore, Maryland. It was a game that the U.S. led 10-2, and then Canada staged an epic comeback. That game put international lacrosse on the map. That game led to the Major League Lacrosse. Jake Steinfeld was in the audience with Dave Morrow. MLL has led to the PLL, the Premier Lacrosse League, and pro lacrosse has never been in a better place in our country. That 1998 game, I'm convinced, was one of the most impactful games of lacrosse that's ever been played.
And the hope is this tournament can further springboard the sport into Olympic inclusion just up the road in Los Angeles when 2028 rolls around. What about Perth? You get to go to Perth, do some surfing out there?
Now, I've been to Australia for college football for a week, but I've never been to Perth, and I'd love to go to Manchester. I called the Manchester final from Charlotte, North Carolina.
It doesn't count, does it?
It was in the Staybridge Suites there in Valentine for 3 days.
Didn't really get the authentic effect there. Did you break for tea and crumpets?
No, I was watching that last episode of Ted Lasso when Richmond goes to Manchester. Had me thinking about a trip to Manchester.
Well, you got a trip to San Diego.
Not bad.
U.S.
Not bad.
with a 2-1 lead.
I brought some baggage.
Oh, missed opportunity there. Fields dropped the pass. Now we got a Tempest. And it's Tina merging with the ball, and he scores.
That's a rec league goal. We got mom goals, that's a rec league goal. That is a massive ground ball pileup in front of the crease that Jeff Teat picks up and scores, tied up at 2 apiece. Teat's got 2 points. The tempo of this game, Anish, will be difficult for us, okay? Because we're used to the college game, which there's a clock. A shot clock tells you when the action is coming. Every shot clock ends with some kind of resolution. Same with the PLL, and that's a fast clock. There's no clock, so the action will be a little less predictable. Okay, they could go fast, they could go slow, they could go super slow, they could go super fast. We don't know, so it's going to be harder for us.
And fans watching a running clock. That's not a clock error. We will have a running clock until we get to the last 30 seconds of the first 3 quarters and the last 2 minutes of the 4th quarter.
I think worth noting for Team Canada, Justin Ignacio out of Oakville, Ontario, and Ohio State is going to take the majority of draws face-off tonight. Jake Withers will be the Team Canada Fogo going forward, not dressed tonight. U.S. comes in 100% healthy. The other note for Canada is Owen Grant, hurt in Ohio, playing for the Premier Lacrosse League in his debut, which is just such a shame. Michael Grace will take his place on the Canadian roster.
Owen Grant, a top 3 pick in the PLL draft, second overall.
Monster. He's here. He carried the flag out during the opening ceremonies.
Dane Smith over to Connor Fields.
Owen Grant's going to be a star.
Final 10 seconds, quarter number 1. This is Curtis Dixon. 5 seconds. Crease feed. Bird on the doorstep. Did he beat the buzzer? He did. Canada this time gets the buzzer beater in quarter number 1 here in San Diego.
They love the back door. How about this backdoor feed? Eyes are always up. They look inside. They look to the backside. Dixon carries up, swings it up top to Smith. It jams it. Backside to Josh Byrne. 1 quarter in the books.
Sunny Southern California, the setting for the 2023 World Lacrosse Championships. Quint, I know your daughter who's out here has been telling you, let's get out on the water, go surfing, go jet skiing. Team Canada, 3 World Championships, gold medals in 78, 06, and 2014, and they bring back 11 players from that silver medal team in 2018.
It's going to take some discipline for these players on their off days not to play golf nonstop or hit the beach as I did today. Windansea Beach, just south of La Jolla. Just a beautiful rock and sand beach in a gorgeous community. There's a lot to do. It'll be interesting. I think these coaches got to give these adult players some leeway early in this tournament, hoping to reel them in when we get to the semis and the finals. Because you got to make this fun, Anish, and it's got to be interactive with the other nations. If you're USA and Canada, I believe you have a responsibility at this event to spread as much love, as much expertise, and I throw in the Haudenosaunee also. Love, expertise, invite teams to practice, eat meals with these other teams. There's so much expertise that you can pass on to these other nations.
There is John Danowski. He won a gold for Team USA in 2018 as the head coach. And Q, what we saw in Israel when we were there in 2018, we were staying at the same hotel as Team Canada and the Haudenosaunee, so we got to see it up close. They would hold clinics for other countries, go through walkthroughs with other countries, true ambassadors to the game. It was very visible for us because, again, we're staying at the same hotel, so we saw it on a daily basis. And we were talking to the players at breakfast and lunch, all the things that they did to grow the sport, promote it amongst the other countries that were there.
The Haudenosaunee are always the home team. Okay, they could play this on the North Pole, and the Haudenosaunee would be the home team. We could play this in Italy; they'd still be the home team. Wherever they go, they're the rock stars. It's their game.
Rob Pinnell missing the cage, the backup to Charlie Bertrand. The Haudenosaunee feature Lyle Thompson, one of the greatest to ever play. Here comes Bertrand using the pick from Pinnell. Now Pinnell's got the short stick matchup. It's young Casey Wilson. Skip pass is picked off. Ryland Reese.
Now you got some offensive personnel caught on the field here. This is where the USA team is a little vulnerable. They got their two-way middies, but they're on the bench right now. And let's see how Canada plays this. They're not subbing at all.
And even somebody like Reese, I was about to say, he's been a long-range threat in the PLL. There's no two-point shot here. He runs off. And it looks like Canada will wait.
You got some offensive personnel caught on the field
You got
now.
Bertrand caught.
Conrad is a very capable defender, 15 in white. Bertrand is the guy that Canada will pick on, 41 in white.
Casey Wilson, short stick D midi for Canada, 2 in red. Also on there with Bertrand.
I think the sub game is going to be huge if these two teams play again, potentially semifinal or final July 1st on ESPN2.
This is Wesley Berg maneuvering on Conrad. Berg draws a flag.
See Bernhardt directing traffic. You've got to get your tail in the box for the clock to start with a running time penalty. There's the push right there, Conrad 15, and he argues the call for a moment. You see Bernhardt, the veteran, rushes over to him as if to say, hey, Ryan, get your butt in the penalty box and sit down, because that's when the penalty time starts.
So man-up opportunity now for Team Canada.
This unit should be fun to watch with the stick work, pacing of these passes, and watch the accuracy.
Here's Jeff Teat, Dane Smith. One more to Berg, looking for the angle. Dumps it back to Smith. Two-time NLL MVP over to Teat. Byrne feeding Lee, skips it just wide. The backup to Team Canada. Berg will dig it out. And we're back to even strength. Ryan Lee scored the first one for Team Canada. Lee matched up with Ryan Terefenko, 34 and white, a three-time All-American at Ohio State. Smith over to Teat. Jesse Bernhardt matched up on him. Teat rolls back. Well-timed double. The U.S. picks it up. It's JT Giles Harris, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year in the PLL.
It's good defense by Bernhardt. Teat tried to drop his hips and his shoulders and kind of barrel and lean in like a fullback trying to get through a hole.
Terefenko tried to sell it.
International officials, which always makes these games super interesting.
Matt Rambo got tied up, and he will draw a flag on Graham Hossack. It's going to be a hold with possession, and the U.S. now with a chance with the extra man.
Under the arm and lifts.
Here's Tom Schreiber. Over to Brennan O'Neill, who gets it back from Rambo. Schreiber, right now the best offensive midfielder on the planet.
Giving him the shot.
He had the game winner against Canada in the final second in 2018.
Cartle's the inside man, the center of the hub.
Rambo shot, blocked. Big ground ball here near the end line. Rolls to the sideline, out of bounds. Last touch USA, Canada ball.
Interesting when you look at the roster composition of this USA team, and we'll see how it develops. My first thoughts offensively is who can play without the ball. You've got a lot of guys who have made a career and a name for themselves, Tuarton winners, who are great with the ball in their stick. Who can float and play without it to capitalize on their dodging abilities?
Yeah, you're right. You've got so many great ball-dominant players.
Yes, ball-dominant players, exactly. But a good team requires two ball-dominant players, two off-ball players, and then guys who pass really well. You know what I mean? And when you put your six on the field, you want complementary skills.
There's Rob Pinnell again. Brody Merrill shadows him. Or rather, that's Ryland Reese. No one, just a 7. Over to O'Neill. Think of what this experience will do for Brennan O'Neill. There's McCardle. Tuarton winner. Now you play against the world's best and you've got another year of college.
The mentality.
Here's O'Neill looking for Bertrand. We get a flag as McCardle took a spill.
The challenge for USA team in this first game is typically, let's say a guy like Brennan O'Neill. He has grown up and dreamed of playing for Team USA his entire life. Okay, he's made Team USA. Congratulations, pats on the back. Now he's got to reset the gear as if I got to now try to win win a world championship. That's difficult because there's such an achievement just of making this team.
Oh, no doubt. And he's the only college player on the team. O'Neill back to Schreiber on the doorstep. Rambo looking to get that left hand. O'Neill the skip pass off the stick of Kelly. Connor Kelly able to retrieve, gets it to Pinnell, and instead of a scramble, the U.S. slows up. Kelly with a rocket, and he scores. The U.S. pulls even at 3.
Canada did not reset symmetrically after this loose ball on the far side of the field. Kelly hustles right here, and they come up with it. Now watch the reset by the Canadian defense. It's not balanced well. You've got 3 guys in white jerseys on the right and only 1 Canadian defender. And Connor Kelly can't miss right now. Maybe the hottest player in the Premier Lacrosse League. He continues to shoot for corners.
NBA draft tomorrow from Barclays Center in Brooklyn. The Spurs with the #1 pick. They are going to take Victor Wembanyama, a generational talent. And then who does Charlotte take with that second pick? Is it Scoot Henderson? Is it Brandon Miller from Alabama? We have to figure out the best taco spot in town. There are so many. You saw Cafe Coyote. You went to a great taco spot today out in La Jolla.
I did, and tomorrow we're going to hit Mission Beach and a place called World Famous. If any Lacrosse fans are in the neighborhood, we'll be there for lunch. Day off for me as this tournament gets underway. Remember, all the games in this tournament, 107 lacrosse games between 30 nations, are on ESPN+. We've got an ESPN cast and crew rolling in over the next 10 days to cover those games.
Trevor Baptiste wins the face-off for Team USA. Game tied at 3. 7.5 to go. Opening half. No shot clock at the international level. There is a subjective stall warning.
Jonathan Askew spoke to him on my podcast last week. Was joking that final scores would be 5-4 or 6-5. I think the reality is, in a game between U.S. and Canada, you get to 10 goals, you're going to probably win.
I saw him at the University of San Diego bookstore yesterday, and he joked, it might be 4-3. I said, don't say that.
It's clear in this game that neither team is looking to push tempo off of turnovers. I think that.
Why do you think that is?
I just think. Again, they're assessing as O'Neal loses his edge. I just think they're looking at matchups. They're looking at styles. They're seeing the substitution patterns. Where are the cracks? Where are the crevices? Where are the opportunities?
And we get a procedure call, so it goes back the other way. That looked like Tom Schreiber was thinking unsettled goal.
He was, and it was an opportunity. But whatever happened behind the play at the substitution box had nothing to do with Schreiber. It had to do with what you're seeing from the USA bench. And they spent a lot of time at practice last night working on pretty fundamental things like how they're going to sub, how they're going to clear. Things that you'd watch a high school team do during a pregame walkthrough. It was bizarro land. By the way, they practiced 30 minutes away from USD because they were worried about the spies and the eyes of Team Canada. I mean, come on, guys.
You got a gold medal to defend.
Take it so seriously.
I understand what you're saying. At the same time, again, if you want to elevate the game, then, yeah, this does become about winning the ultimate medal, too.
I get that. But it wasn't like they went out there and did secret spy work, plays, or anything. It was very vanilla. Again, there's got to be a responsibility for Team USA and Team Canada to uplift this entire body of 30 teams here. Come out and watch us practice.
Connor Fields over to Jeff Teat. Matt Dunn on him.
Hey, Italy coaches, come on and watch some film with us.
Lee with a skip pass, good ball movement. Peterson shoots and scores.
That's gorgeous. That one will make the film clips. You talk about passing and good spacing, there it is right there. And this is why Canada, many people think the Canadians are the favorite in this tournament. Watch this zip, zip, zip passing. Little front swing, that's a problem. One player on US falls, next thing you know, they capitalize. Little triangular passing. Byrne picks up the assist. Clark Peterson, Cornell University, Toronto native, scores in an international game.
He was Jeff Teat's running mate at Cornell. Those two teamed up on countless goals. You know, the one big difference in terms of background for Team USA and Team Canada, Canada has a number of players, all their players, grew up playing box lacrosse. For the fans watching Lacrosse After Dark, not familiar with what's different about Canadian lacrosse versus US lacrosse, explain box versus field.
Box is indoor, okay? It's 5-on-5 lacrosse with goaltenders who are basically in hockey nets, small size goals, and they're blown up by like the Michelin Man, okay? So there's little windows in terms of shooting. But all the players have offensive sticks. That's a 40-inch variety. And so from an early age, when you play 5-on-5, as opposed to 10-on-10, you get double the touches, double the reps, double the shots, double the reps on defense. And it creates a really highly skilled player. Canada's issue in this competition through most of the 60s, 70s, and 80s was that they didn't have enough field experience, especially their defenders, their long poles, and their goalies.
Yeah, that's changed.
That's changed dramatically. Guys like Brody Merrill, Graham Hasek.
Bertrand's shot is blocked.
You go back to 1998, Steve Toll was one of Canada's best defenders. The only time all year he used a long pole was every 4 years in international play. Now we've got guys like Cam Wires who played
Team with a great feed. Wilson had a look and he missed it. Now that was one of the rare unsettled chances from either team, and Casey Wilson, who just finished his career with the Denver Pioneers, dangerous in transition, had a great look off the teat feed. Dane Smith, 92 in red. Won an NLL Cup with Buffalo in May, helped Chaos win a PLL championship in 2021. Here comes the U.S. the other way, Tarasenko. He's got a trailer. And they look off Jesse Bernhardt.
Pennell kept it. It was there, the trailer break off the turnover.
Timeout, Team USA. 1:57 to go, second quarter. Canada with a 4-3 lead, and fans here excited for the halftime entertainment.
John Danowski's a music fan. He may even stay outside and listen.
One of the great DJs of all time, certainly the most popular DJ in the world, Steve Aoki, will perform at halftime on the big stage in the north end zone of Snapdragon Stadium. Team USA brings back 6 players from its gold medal winning team in 2018. Almost every player on the roster, with the exception of Brennan O'Neill, who's still in college, competes in the PLL. They have been the gold standard, figuratively and literally, in these world championships. And again, the expectation for Team USA is to win the gold. We forget sometimes, though, lacrosse, not hockey, is the national sport of Canada.
Best Team USA uniforms that I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're nice.
Nice crowd here as well. A little bit different feel for us compared to what Netanya was like. Equally beautiful, like the beach was right outside our hotel. Similar here. But this is a big city USA feel. There's Michael Earhart, the captain of this team, who's carrying the flag out during the opening ceremonies. Maryland 2014, the MVP in Netanya back in 2018 at the long pole position.
Yeah, he was a stud, especially in that championship game where he was the best player on the field. Final 1:45 of half number 1. Here's Brennan O'Neill. Eyes up Latrell Harris. O'Neill spins it back to Rambo. Lost it. Able to recover. Now Schreiber, elite passing midfielder. He was the PLL's midfielder of the year a season ago. A star at Princeton.
You holding for a last shot here, Anish? Or you pushing?
I mean, you could. Pennell to O'Neill. Cranks and scores! The Tewaaraton winner, Brennan O'Neill, ties it at 4.
This is a bomb from the outside. There's no 2-point line in international play, but this would have been good from 2. This is from 15 yards, left-handed straight over the top. The change of level is just nasty, and handcuffs Dylan Ward. He brings that from a high release point, let's say 1 o'clock on the clock, and brings it all the way down low to 7 o'clock. And that is crippling for a goaltender to try to track that at about 100 miles an hour.
O'Neill has been dubbed the chosen one since he was in middle school. Committed to Penn State at one point as an 8th grader. Played varsity as an 8th grader.
Yeah, I'm interested to watch his performance. He fits in clearly, Anish. He's got that give me the ball mentality that we did not see in the national title game. He's coming off the biggest disappointment of his career, and then he wins the Tewaaraton. So it's a little bit of a challenging time for him, and I think playing out here amongst these pros, these veterans, will offer him enormous growth opportunities.
I think there's an opportunity to continue to grow his confidence. And again, he's coming off a Tewaaraton trophy type of season.
Exactly, yeah.
He took Duke to a national championship game. To me, with what Duke's got coming back, highlighted by O'Neal, they're the favorite going into 2024.
It would be as if he won the Heisman and then played poorly in the college football playoff. Final. Played a good semifinal game. He just didn't produce enough in Duke's national championship loss to Notre Dame. The good news for Brennan, Duke's stacked next year.
They are stacked.
And so this guy is going to benefit from this summer. He fits in, and Duke's going to do some major damage next year. That's head coach Seth Tierney on the left, Hofstra University. You think about the amount of knowledge in that huddle right there and how much a college student can gain from all his interactions with a guy like Rob Pinnell or Tommy Schreiber or Ryan Conrad.
It's a heck of a coaching staff John Danowski has assembled for Team USA. You saw Seth Tierney, Joe Amplo, head coach at Navy, former head coach at Marquette.
Running the defense.
Charlie Toomey won a national championship in 2012 as head coach at Loyola, one of the most respected coaches in all of Division I men's college lacrosse.
Charlie was working with the defense and goalies last
There's
night
Joe Amplo.
in practice. They've also got an assistant helping with face-offs. They've got an assistant doing video clips. They have the best trainer in the business, Mandy Merritt, Notre Dame's trainer, who deserves the national title trophy for what she did on championship weekend, and Jay Dyer, who did a great job at Johns Hopkins this year in their strength and conditioning department.
Final 10 seconds. Here comes Sowers. He's got the short stick Harris. 5 seconds. Sowers circles behind the cage, sneaks around, missed wide, and half number one comes to an end in San Diego. We're all even at 4.
He can put your ankles in a blender. Look at him. He's got the smile. He knows he got top side. He made a guy look silly, didn't he? He can do that. Look at him. He's a guy you do not want to try to cover in the phone booth.
Michael Sowers, a couple of first-half goals for Team USA. Connor Kelly and Brennan O'Neal, the other tallies. Jeff Teat, 2 points in the opening half. Clark Peterson, another former Cornell sniper, with a tally. We're tied at 4. U.S. and Canada, nothing new. In the diminishing daylight of Southern California, you're watching the 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship presented by Rady Children's Hospital. We are in San Diego, discovered by the Germans in 1904. No, that's not true. Tied at 4, start of the third quarter. Nashroff, Quint Kesnick with you, and it'll be T.D. Erlin taking this face-off for Team USA against Justin Inacio, the first of 107 games to be broadcast on the ESPN networks. Erlin wins the face-off, gets doubled, spins away, and he'll bring it in. What a luxury for John Danowski to have two of the greatest face-off men of all time in Baptiste and Erlin as his go-to.
And that was pretty nifty by TD, who lists his college as Yale. He's got a degree from Yale and Denver. Played at Albany as well, but last night he practiced. That was the visual that caught my eye most, Anish, to see Trevor and TD working on their craft off to the side together. That's like watching Sandy Koufax and Nolan Ryan talking pitching.
In different eras, Sandy Koufax won Spawn, perhaps.
Well, they're not exactly contemporaries, Baptiste and TD. Were they separated by 2 years?
Well, they played against each other. Epic quarterfinal. Albany and Denver.
The interesting thing, we said Sowers and O'Neal playing on this first midfield with Schreiber. The reason they're going to do that, and let's see if they continue with that in the second half, is to create matchups.
They might have a chance here. Rambo left-hand free. Ward with his first save. And Rambo ended up in the crease. Flag down. And we're going to get a loose ball or a push with possession.
That was a big-time save, and what Ward does well is he plays on an extremely high arc off his goal line. He's about 6'3", 6'4". He plays with a high arc, And so the windows shrink. And look at the big step. The righty makes that step with the left foot, moving his body. A lacrosse goal is 6 feet tall by 6 feet wide. It's 36 square feet. That's a lot of real estate. Guys who stand still don't make saves. Dylan Ward is big, and he moves his feet.
Costly unforced error. You get a man up in this setting, it's a huge advantage when there are very few transition opportunities. Most of the goals come in a 6-on-6, so if you've got numbers in a 6-on-6, you got to take advantage.
And
that was a careless turnover.
Yeah, and the reason here also without a shot clock is you're not going to get it back. So Canada can use the entire field now and milk this penalty down to double donuts.
And there's no time limit to get it across midfield like
Right.
you see in the PLL or in college.
So we see Dane Smith back to support this clear. Cam Wires getting some action. Loyola, recent graduate at Loyola College via Ottawa, 20, lefty in red.
22 caused turnovers this past season, a two-time All-American, and came away from Loyola with a degree in mechanical engineering. 3 minutes elapsed in quarter number 3. Watch 15, Dyson Williams on the inside for Canada. 60 goals for Duke this past season.
Dyson will get hot when Cotter shows up in 10. Because every time Chris Cotter calls a Duke game, Dyson Williams explodes for 6 or 7.
Now Jeff Teat.
Without a pick, up,
Gets done.
gets a little rub. Teat loves to work off picks.
Danny Logan with the dislodge. Into the air, it's picked up by Jack Rowlett.
It's like a can opener. Just popped his stick and hands into the ball carrier, and the ball went whoop, flying up into the air. Logan, 19 in white, maybe the best in the business at the position right now. Hard to argue when you consider what he's done at the Premier Lacrosse League level.
A standout at Denver. He's been the short stick D-Midi 2 times in the PLL, winning that yearly award. Now Rambo picked up by Graham Hossack. Rambo slips, maintains ball control. This is the second midfield now for Team USA. It's Conrad, Bertrand, and Kelly. Bertrand over to Conrad. Gets to the middle of the field. Has a short stick matchup. Conrad won a title at Virginia in 2019. Now Pinnell over to Bertrand. And Team USA takes the lead at 5-4.
Starts with the defense. Watch Logan. Two-handed lifts. Ball pops in the air. Rowlett is off to the races. Down at the other end, Pinnell picks up this assist. Watch Bertrand, 41 in white. Time is cut. That ball is right on the money. I'm telling you, Pinnell puts it right in that spot to make it easy for Bertrand, who can play without the ball. Anish, he's a guy capable of floating on the wing, floating inside, and he has magic. Very creative finisher. We've seen him for Virginia and at the pro level.
Well, when Virginia brought him in on that championship run in 2021, his role changed from what it was at Merrimack. He became an off-ball guy a little bit more. Yes, he could carry, but you had other guys that could do that. And you mentioned the U.S., a lot of ball-dominant players, which is good. You have guys who can create on their own and get mismatches, but Bertrand is somebody who can find space on his own.
Completely agree with that. Really notable that he went to Merrimack, won 2 D2 titles. Before that COVID extra year gave him a season at UVA in Charlottesville. And the lefty, smart kid, mechanical engineer.
Pinnell's feed.
And been fun to watch Charlie just continue to evolve and improve. Honestly, without COVID, we never even hear of Charlie Bertrand. And he might not even have made a pro roster. Yet he gets that chance at UVA shines, gets a tryout for the USA team, and now he's here playing on this stage. It's amazing. Good players come from all over the place. He's from Baldwinville, New York. Again, a D2 product.
Yeah, right outside of the Syracuse area. There's Connor Fields. Top 5 all-time in points at the Division I level. Now Curtis Dixon. Quint 71 in red. Turns 35 in a couple of weeks.
Thought you said he was 71 now.
I said 71 in red. Turns 35. Here comes Peterson down the alley.
How old is Brody?
Brody's 41. He'll be 42
Brody
in November.
Merrill is 41. Wow. I think about Jim Darkangelo, the late Jim Darkangelo, when I think of USA players who played forever. I think about Vinny Sombrado.
Fields over to Tate. Save made by Blaze Reardon, who's in goal for Team USA.
Blaze splitting time. It's a good look at the big man. Albany.
Blaze has become maybe the best goalie in the world.
I'm not at the pro level, absolutely. Yeah, I think Dylan Ward and he will duel it out in this tournament.
3-time goalie of the year in the PLL. He was the MVP of the league a few years back.
Bates shooter's better than anyone in the business right now. Lefty with some unconventional moves. More like a hockey goalie butterfly style.
Skip pass, skips wide.
Like that one. Didn't even move his stick at it because he knew he couldn't get it there, but he did move his body to cover the post.
What do you attribute that to? Is that film study, anticipation, instincts?
I think he's just taken any kind of coaching book on how to teach goalies and kind of thrown it out the window and said, no, this works for me. This is more functional.
There's Dixon to Fields. There's that patented hesitation. Fields spins back, one-handed cradle.
Fields is a tricky matchup because he is an ISO dodger, a yo-yo type, back and forth type player for Canada. Buffalo native.
He grew up watching the great Michael Powell, and then as a freshman at Albany, he roomed with Lyle Thompson on the road. Couple pretty good role models.
He's a dual citizen. And I know his dad, Pete, is his biggest fan. Played for the Fort Erie Hawks as a young player. He's 27 now.
Terefenko right by Reese. Now Schreiber, whose vision from the midfield is uncanny. Schreiber feeding the wing. Face dodge, and Brennan O'Neill just missed the cage. He has that move in his bag. We've seen it so many times in his Duke career.
That big fake.
Pennell against Wires. Pennell rolls back to the right. Dumps it behind the cage. Now Rambo getting the pick. And that's going to be an illegal pick.
I thought Pennell played one of the best games of his life 2 weeks ago in Charlotte. It was a low-touch type of affair, but every time he did something magical with the ball, he's the smartest of ever. He's 33 years old, and he keeps getting better. And I remember after the game, he was waiting for the bus to go to Durham for the training session for Team USA, and I was like, Rob, man, how do you do it? It's just so awesome that a guy like Rob Pennell, at age 33, is still playing competitive lacrosse and pushing the envelope for young players to watch.
Playing at an elite level, too.
That never happened before pro lacrosse, Anish. Guys played until they were 23, 24, and then got real jobs. And that's why this game continues to ascend.
And that's why you got to love what Paul Rabel and Michael Rabel and PLL want to do. They want to get pro lacrosse to a level where that is a real job. Playing pro lacrosse is a viable year-round endeavor.
50 Premier Lacrosse League players.
Burn shot snuffed out by Reardon.
50 Premier Lacrosse League players here over the next 10 days playing for a handful of nations. Paul's in the French Riviera at some kind of film festival.
He's missing out on San Diego.
I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up next weekend.
He was a staple of Team USA for a decade plus. One of the all-time greats. Now Rambo. Conrad skips to his left, plays it back. Kelly from the outside shoots high. And RP3, Rob Pinnell. MVP is a pro, Rookie of the Year is a pro, Tewaaraton winner in college. Kelly up top, the hammer, bouncing wide. Conrad, the backup.
It's a good closeout by 2 in red, Casey Wilson. Kelly, the best outside shooter.
And Conrad that time got topside with ease. And the U.S. with a 6-4 lead. It is the first 2-goal lead by any team tonight.
Not sure what the Canadian defense was doing here. It almost looked like they settled into a zone. Look how tight their splits are. And Conrad takes that off the end line and curls topside to give the Stars and Stripes a 2-goal lead.
Well, it's not Manchester, Quint, but the London series is back for the first time since 2019. Cubs and Cardinals playing the second of a 2-game set at London Stadium. That game at 10 a.m. Eastern on Sunday, and the Sunday night matchup series finale, Astros and Dodgers just up the road at Chavez Ravine.
In a low-tempo, low-shot game, you don't get many second chances. Blaze Reardon has played really well in this third quarter. Come off the bench. You know, it's funny to watch Blaze. He'll warm up Jack Kelly. Remember, Blaze is a floor runner in the indoor league. That's how talented he is. And one thing I think he knows as a shooter, he can read body language. He can read the head and the eyes of the shooters probably better than any goalie that I've ever watched, all while focused on the ball. So there's a certain knack to cheat without getting caught cheating.
He makes it work. We're going to get a hold, and it's going to be against Canada. Baptiste won another faceoff.
Yeah, possession time now, right? You sensing that possession time to the U.S.?
We've reached a point, you're seeing it in pro lacrosse and the PLL with the new faceoff rule, even in the NCAA. With a shot clock, the impact of faceoffs, yeah, it still matters, but it's slightly diminished to what it was pre-shot clock. Here, having Erlin and Baptiste is a massive, massive advantage.
Yes, and you saw that last weekend in the Premier Lacrosse League where 4 games had face-off stats that were skewed enormously in one direction. All 4 of those teams lost. Penalties are going to be the issue for Canada in this game. They're going to have to clean that up. Again, both of these coaches' staffs using this pool play game as a test drive, okay? Who looks good? Who's a little rusty? What combinations work? How are we going to defend certain players? What do we think? Where are the crevices or the cracks of opportunity? If you're Canada, you got to improve the face-offs. You got to stay out of the penalty box.
Here's Schreiber. Over to Brennan O'Neill. Now Pinnell. Connor Kelly's got a goal today. Kelly from the wing. And he missed the cage wide. Pulled a Norwood wide right.
10 game winners while a Terp for the University of Maryland, and he's continued to do that as a pro. He is clutch. What, he hit 3 2s the other day?
O'Neill with a hammer. A hat trick for Brennan O'Neill, the lone collegiate player for Team USA.
Defensively, Dylan Ward, Team Canada goalie, and his mates, they'll talk about, you know, what are their splits defensively? How much yardage are we giving a guy? Well, they just gave Brennan O'Neill way too much room. He's able to step inside of Graham Hossack and untouched, just uncork a laser. O'Neill has been on target with 3.
Hey, Canada, you better get the backup keeper ready!
Not a bad international debut for Brennan O'Neill at this level, the highest level. Here comes Baptiste, reigning PLL MVP. And now the U.S. again. This is where the face-off advantage is amplified. Final 10 seconds here in quarter number 3. U.S. with the largest lead of the game. Canada has not scored in the second half. Conrad fakes, and time expires. A 4-4 game at the break. The U.S. outscores Canada 3-0 in the third. We go to the fourth quarter at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, California. A 3-goal lead for Team USA over Canada. Opening game of the 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship, and the 3-goal difference, well, you can attribute that to Brennan O'Neill, rising senior for the Duke Blue Devils. Yeah, okay, that one was intended to be a pass. He gets credit for a goal. That one was legit, and then another hammer with the extra man off the Schreiber feed.
You let him set his feet, you're going to turn and rake, because that man can rip it, the lefty. 21 years old, 6'2", 225. You look at the shot differential, +7 for the U.S. U.S. Stars and Stripes now shooting 35%, and O'Neill's been on target with his strength, the precision, and the skill. It's a combination, a really rare combination of size and power along with skill. He is a young man who's very humble, quiet, likable, but extremely coachable. And it's going to be scary to think about what he's going to look like next year down in Durham.
And a generational talent. We get withholding this time against the U.S. And for Canada, what they're up against in Baptiste and Erlin at the face-off X, that's significant now. You're down 3. How many possessions do you get in the fourth quarter in a game that does not have a shot clock?
Yeah, I'd say because of that, if the U.S. stays out of the penalty box and goalie Blaze Reardon doesn't let in any soft goals, a 3-goal margin in this format is significant. Much, much more significant than in a pro or college game with a shot clock.
Here's Curtis Dixon, nicknamed Superman, for all his dives, working on Goodrich. Dixon gets free, hits the ground, draws the flag. Multiple flags on the play.
Dixon shaken up. You see how strong he is. Maybe the best player in Delaware history. This guy's played a ton of pro ball. Watch him lean in here right-handed. Goodrich tries to stand him up. Not sure why the whistle blows here, because the ball never came out of his stick and he completed a pass to his teammate. That's got to be an inadvertent whistle. I don't understand why the whistle blew there.
Yeah, it's 2 men in the box for Team USA.
Good luck, huh? Good luck.
You get a 6-on-4 now for Canada. Dane Smith will trigger. A chance for the Canadians to dent the deficit. Smith spins it back to Teat. Out to the wing, skip pass, Smith steps into it, bouncer, Reardon, cat-like reflexes with the save.
Oh, and a huge ground ball.
Rowlett had it, and then had it taken away. Berg over to Smith.
Was that a body save by Blaze?
Burns, skip pass to Smith, that gets away, it was tipped. It will stay with Canada, last touch, Team USA.
It's good officiating on that call.
It's now 6-on-5. Another skip pass. Burns shot deflected by Dunn. Team USA's defense.
Dunn and Bernhardt, sticks in the passing lane, making things happen. 2 Terps.
Now Teat to Smith.
One
more pass and
tip.
another stick on it. That was Rowlett's stick. Team USA getting in the passing lane, and with the running clock, Tarafenko joins the defense. Back to 6-on-6. Missed opportunity for Canada. Heat, Vipers around the crease. Hits Berg, working on Dunn. Bouncer didn't have much mustard.
Yeah, you're seeing some good defense here. Terefenko on Teat held the matchup strong. Terefenko's a midfield defender, didn't give up an inch. And then Dunn does a really good job on the corner as well.
You know, at this level, Quentin, you say a guy's got a shorty. It may not mean as much as it would at some other levels.
No, and Canada is not throwing an abundance of two-man games at the U.S. I think
has that surprised you?
I think they're holding their aces. They're up Matt Brown's sleeve right now. He's not showing the Byrne Teat two-man games from the wings.
Byrne was picked up by JT Giles Harris.
That's got to be the bread and butter for this team. 22 and 51 on the left side, which in this case would be the far side of the field.
Here's Dyson Williams. He's not a carrier. Over to Dane Smith. Rowlett, who's a menacing pole.
Canada's been known to not try so hard in this pool game at times. So I thought it was interesting that Matt said to us, we really want to win this game so we can get a 1 or 2 and have a bye. I'm like, I've never heard that from Canada before. Dave Huntley was masterful. The late, great Team Canada coach, former player, Johns Hopkins, Team Canada player as well. Part of that incredible upset of Team USA. And Canada won back in 1978, 17-16 in overtime in Manchester behind Mike French.
The U.S. then went on to win the next 6. Before Canada ended the run in 2006, the U.S. took the gold back in 2010. Canada won it in 2014 behind a superlative performance from Dylan Ward, and Team USA
there was always
got the gold in 2018.
So many unknowns about Team Canada back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s as these fans now start to come to their feet.
Schreiber gets the skip and shoots too high. Souvenir City, and hopefully everyone's okay.
That's a scary situation. Team Canada back in the 70s and 80s, again, box indoor players that had limited field experience, so you didn't know how that would translate. I remember watching John Tavares in the late 90s, one of the legends of the indoor game, playing field. Now there's so much cross-pollination. NLL, PLL, college. Very few secrets.
Sowers over to Schreiber.
Patience. USA is content to kill the clock right here and end this game 7-4.
Ricardo. Cyclones out of trouble. And we get a flag. That should have been a play on.
We've talked about the Olympic inclusion and lacrosse as a viable sport in 2028 in Los Angeles. This is not the format of lacrosse that is being talked about for the Olympics.
We'll see 6s. And if you watched the PLL's version of 6s back in late winter.
Highly caffeinated lacrosse, let's just put it that way.
A triple shot espresso. It's basically,
the World Games last summer in Birmingham, Alabama. You watch the first half of Team Canada lighting up USA. It's one of the most beautiful displays of lacrosse I've ever seen. They scored 13 goals in the first half. The passing, the movement, the shooting.
Schreiber.
Beautiful. And it's funny how 6s, to me, is geared towards an entry-level sport for little kids. Great to introduce that format. And it could be the top of the pyramid for the Olympics. And in between, we've got all different types of formats.
Are you okay? Because there are some traditionalists who say...
I like it. I like it.
Why is that the Olympic format?
There are many reasons why it's the proposed Olympic format. I'm all for it. I think it's great for players ages 6 through 16. And I think it's a strong cross-training mechanism for high school and college age players.
Rambo on the rollback. He's lefty dominant. His shot blocked.
The beauty of lacrosse is it should be able to be played anywhere, on the beach, in the backyard via like the Thompsons, in the street, in the driveway, on the basketball court or the tennis court. And you could go 2-on-2, 3-on-2. You do 4-on-3s. You could do 10-on-10. It's what we do. George Beers decided that this is what he was going to do with the indigenous game, and he gave it rules and a structure.
7.5 to go. Quarter number 4. Canada has not scored in the second half. U.S. with a 3-goal lead. O'Neal, a rising senior at Duke, with a hat trick. And now lost it. And Canada gets it back. We come up on 7 minutes to play. And again, a 3-goal deficit with the international rules is a lot more steep than at other levels.
Coach Tanowski may have hit the beach today, judging by his lack of sunscreen. He should know better.
I'm waiting for you. You have a day. I've seen you get burnt. You forget the sunscreen.
I have my shadow. I have my shadow, and he's
your daughter Grace is here, and you're lucky she is.
Guarantees that we're buying sunscreen at $19.99
Yeah,
for
she
one
told me.
spray bottle of sunscreen. $19.
She said, what'd you get? A sunscreen and a couple of Snapples for $30 the other day?
$30. $30. Welcome to San Diego.
RP3 picked up by Brody Merrill. We have talked about Brody Merrill's impact on the sport of lacrosse. A game-changing long stick midi at Georgetown. He inspired a generation of players who saw that position and saw that it could be offensive-minded. As a pro, he was as good as it gets. And then with what he's done at the Hill Academy, this Canada team littered with Brody Merrill proteges. There's one in goal, and Dylan Ward, who played for Merrill at the Hill Academy. He has churned out so many of these players who, to your point, fill that role of crossover Canadian players, field and box.
17 in red right now, roaming the slot, the big lefty. One of the nicest guys as he cross-checks an American player, Conrad, in the back, and should have drawn a penalty.
That one off the pipe.
Iconic player, okay? A Hall of Fame player, easily first ballot. The best defender at the long pole position, arguably in the sport's history. That in itself, okay? Separate that from what he's done at the Hill Academy, the coaching side of it. Legendary. He's produced hundreds of college players, hundreds of boys who've become men who've gone on to get degrees at American colleges using the sport of lacrosse and now playing internationally or professionally.
How many times during a college broadcast have we said, and he played for the great Brody Merrill at the Hill Academy?
I got a text from Mark Jones, ESPN's Mark Jones, the announcer, who sat next to Brody first class on a flight from Toronto to Denver, of all places. Mark covering the NBA. And he was so impressed with Brody. And doesn't surprise me. Brody has represented the sport of lacrosse as well as any player that I've ever covered.
At so many levels, player, coach, mentor. Flag down. McCardle weaving through traffic. It hits Ward. He didn't see it. And another flag now at the end of the play. I was about to say, the only thing that has been missing from this Canada-U.S. game that we saw in Netanya
is a fight.
Chippiness. That
Yeah,
game
well,
had
for some reason,
edge.
Zach Courier hasn't been on the field enough for Canada. Now, I don't know if he's nursing an injury or the lack of face-offs in this game, but he's an instant scrap 77 for Canada in red.
The 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship is sponsored by Rady Children's Hospital, the largest children's hospital on the West Coast, ranked among the 10 best children's hospitals in the nation. The United States with a 7-4 lead on Team Canada. It is the opening game of the 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship. U.S. won the gold in 2018. We had the opening ceremonies a little bit before the opening face-off, and we saw all the 30 teams come out with their flags, their chants, their traditions, and You get to see Jamaica and Uganda and Peru and Hong Kong and Austria, Scotland, England, Australia. It's a moment to celebrate the sport of lacrosse as one that has truly become a global game.
20 years ago, there were 16 nations that played lacrosse. Now we're up to 86. Okay, they've got to have qualifying tournaments for this World Championship. 30 are here in San Diego as the U.S. starts this power play. 30 teams here. I'm most eager to see the Japanese because I think that's a team with upward trajectory after their strong showing last summer in the sixes in Birmingham, Alabama. Team Israel, we were impressed with in Netanya. And then the Puerto Rican national team. Those are three teams I think we're going to do some shocking here.
The U.S. waiting patiently. They had a 6-on-4. Now it's 6-on-5, and now 6-on-6 as Latrell Harris runs on. And again, when you have a man up, you can't be called for stalling. Now let's see if they hit the U.S. with a stall warning quickly, which means they've got to keep it in the attack box. McCardle swimming inside, and the back up to Tom Schreiber.
One thing in this format, 6 through 30, in terms of placement, points you score, goal differential, and goals conceded are all criteria for that seeding prior to being placed into bracket in the medal round. As you see some anguish and a smile there from Coach Matt Brown.
Offensively.
Oh, now the Tierney in him's coming out.
Well, he had the best seat in the house.
Somewhere in between that was.
Bill Tierney. Nobody worked officials like Bill Tierney.
The coach will be here later this week. Can't wait to see him. He'll be doing some work with us as well, covering the PLL this summer.
Friday, we'll have the final bouts of the PFL regular season from Overtime Elite Arena in Atlanta. Welterweights and lightweights at 9 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus.
Nice crowd on hand here in San Diego, where the top high school teams are Torrey Pines, La Costa Canyon, and Cathedral Catholic. You go up to Orange County, and it's all about Corona Del Mar, the foothills in St. Margaret's, and in LA, it's Loyola under Coach Jimmy Burrell. And we continue to see great players come out of this area now, Anish. Guys who are kind of ready for the fray of Division I lacrosse.
There's no more transition period. Okay, this is a kid from an outlier state. It's going to take him a year, maybe two, before he can contribute or even see the field. Now we see kids from California, Texas, Florida, Washington, Oregon. They come in, they're ready right away. And all of a sudden, these guys are some of the biggest stars in the game.
Exposure and coaching. When you think about a guy like Romar Dennis, former player at Loyola, he lives here in San Diego. Trey LeClaire, a pro player who played at Ohio State and plays for the San Diego Seals, he's here in San Diego. So the opportunity for non-quote-unquote hotbed players to be coached at that level is what's producing a huge increase in quality players.
Now they have hit the U.S. with a stall warning, which means the Americans must keep the ball in the attack box. Brett Dobson, who's come in at goalie for Canada, out of the cage. There's the double team. Empty net. And the U.S., sensing trouble, are using one of its 2 remaining timeouts. John Danowski and Seth Tierney. Today, the first of 107 games across ESPN platforms. We've got a terrific cast of broadcasters who will bring you these games on linear channels, non-linear channels. You can watch them on ESPN Plus. Quint, the back half of the tournament, we'll have the semifinals, the gold medal game, the championship game.
July 29th for the semis, I believe.
June 29th.
June 29th, sorry.
If you're here July 29th, you really
good.
like the tacos.
I do well in the per diem department. June 29th semifinals, July 1st finals on ESPN2.
Yeah, we'll have the bronze and the gold medal game, and in about a week, Chris Cotter and Paul Carcaterra will join us as
too.
well.
The flavor's going to be on ESPN Plus, though. Like, for us to watch the Scottish national team walk out
With the kilts.
with their kilts, with the Mexican team with their sombreros today,
Yeah.
with the Jamaican team coming out with their incredible spirit. And I was told, by the way, from our friends over here from the FCA who have been scrimmaging against Team Jamaica, look out. Could be another chapter in the Jamaican bobsled team story. But, you know, New Zealand, they'll do the haka. Like, there's great flavor here.
Michael Sowers will trigger.
How fast is Michael Sowers?
Well, we're about to find out. He's going to play keep away. Goalie out of the cage. Canada tries to get the ball back. The U.S. has to keep it inside the box.
He's going to take a beating here.
He did.
In the process.
He pinballed off one.
There's wear and tear.
Now running out of real estate.
Yeah.
Throws it to the far side. There's a flag down.
Some kind of off-ball hold, maybe? Was something going on away from the ball that we weren't watching? Coach Stanowski now only trailing Salisbury's Jim Berkman in terms of all-time college wins. Who would have guessed that Coach Stanowski, when he got turned down for a job at Manhasset High School teaching 9th grade science and JV lacrosse, that would be a positive for his career trajectory.
He told us that was his goal at one point. He wanted to be a teacher on Long Island, and Manhasset was a job he would have been very happy with. And he said, you would not have heard of me. You wouldn't have heard from me. I would have been coaching lacrosse maybe on Long Island, teaching, but he didn't get the job. And he's turned into one of the great coaches in the history of college lacrosse.
Ends up taking the head assistant job at CW Post under Tony Seaman. Coach Danowski and his wife then were dorm counselors for like $3,000 a year. Seaman eventually takes the Penn job. Danowski's promoted at CW Post, coaches at Hofstra, and now at Duke. Canada's got a great coaching staff, by the way, Anish. We haven't mentioned enough about their group. Taylor Ray, the head coach at St. Joe's, Mark Miyashita, and the great Merrick Thompson on that staff, along with Randy Mearns.
Now we get another flag. This time it's drawn by Pinnell. So the U.S. had a 6-on-5. Rowlett on the empty net. Now why not a free possession at that point? Rady Children's Hospital, the presenting sponsor of the 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship. It's the largest children's hospital on the West Coast and ranked among the 10 best children's hospitals in the nation.
Rowlett missing that empty netter. Jack recently accepted an assistant coaching position at BU. 26-year-old North Carolina grad, and
he had been the volunteer guy at Georgetown.
Yeah,
yep.
that did a nice job at Georgetown. I like Jack a lot.
Dobson is out of the cage, which in effect makes it a 6-on-6.
He's waiting.
About Kelly, the catapults just a little too high for Pinnell. Canada gets it back, 1:14 to go, down 3, and
no goals in the second half for Canada.
Yeah, no.
They led this game 4-3. They've had limited quality shots in the second half.
Rogers lays it out to T. Less than a minute to go. Now the challenge here for Canada, even if you score, you got to go through Baptiste or Erlin at the faceoff X. Berg down the alley on Rowlett. Wheels behind the crease. Former Denver Pioneer takes a hit from Rowlett. Now it's Dane Smith. Shot on goal, missed the cage, flag down. Danny Logan sprinting off.
United States penalty number 19.
I love the way that the officials were part of the opening ceremonies as a group. 30 nations, and then it looked to be 50 or 60 officials walked out together.
And nobody booed them.
Also had a Haudenosaunee Native American blessing of this field and all the fields that we'll play on over the next 10 days.
Byrne with a rocket, and Canada's first goal of the second half comes with 20 seconds to go in the game. It makes it 7-5. And now, if the Canadians aren't to mount a comeback, you have to go through T.D. Erlin at the faceoff X.
Byrne from Teat. I believe Teat's got 3 points. Byrne unofficially has 3 points as well on the extra man. Penalties is going to be a big storyline if these two teams again hook up on July 1st on ESPN2 in the championship game. I got the U.S. with at least 2 power play goals, Canada with 1.
Canada will face off a pole. It's Hasek. It doesn't matter. Erlin wins it. And the U.S. just has to play keep away for the final 12 seconds. And the U.S. calls a timeout. 9 seconds to go. Or do they? Canada's playing at the other end. Josh Byrne was streaking through the cage. And now we finally get the whistle. Timeout.
Officiating in the 2018 championship game between Canada and the U.S. was hotly debated. International officials. For this pool round, there's no USA or Canada officials. For the medal round, you'll have 1 from Canada, 1 from the U.S., and then 1 neutral if these two teams were to square off in the championship game. The neutral ref will be in charge. He'll be the chief.
How long do you think 23's been growing that out?
I mean, it's pretty good. He's going to be a little hot on the beach this week.
Now that thing's glorious.
I think I've seen that guy in some Christmas programming.
I don't get it.
Yukon Cornelius.
Oh, yeah, Yukon Cornelius, yeah. Claymation, you went way back. Final seconds. Dixon can't corral it. Reardon's got it. And Team USA opens the World Championships with a 2-goal win against Canada in a rematch of the 2018 gold medal game. And near midfield, it's getting testy. Some pushing and shoving near midfield. And now Matt Brown stepping in, the official stepping in, and the teams have to be separated. There was very little of that through the course of this game, and we actually commentated on it at one point. Hey, there hasn't been the chippiness you usually get when these two teams play. Final horn sound is, and we get the chippiness.
You had the crisscrossing of the benches to go congratulate or console the goalies, and at the midfield line there was a little bumping and then a little jawing and then some hands in the face. You see Seth Tierney, the assistant coach right there, does a really good job of keeping the players away from one another in what was chapter 1 of what'll be a 2-chapter story. You can guarantee it.
The U.S. wins it by 2 in the opening game of these World Championships. We'll be back. Your final score, the United States 7, Canada 5 opening game of the 2023 World Lacrosse Championships. The U.S. defending its gold medal. This is just the start of pool play. There's a very real chance we see these two again in the gold medal game. That has happened in the last 6 World Championships. Anish Rav, Quinn Kesnick. To wrap it up, U.S. defense held Canada to 1 goal in the second half. That came in the final 30 seconds of the game. And Brennan O'Neill, the lone collegiate player for Team USA, he was the big offensive star with a hat trick.
He finished his shots. I was really impressed with the face-off unit for Team USA, Trevor Baptiste and T.D. Erlin, along with goaltender Blaise Reardon in the second half, holding Canada to 1 goal. Again, this is the first of what should be 2 meetings, and this just sets up a potential rematch on July 1st on ESPN2, and that'll be much more heated, Anish.
Now let's welcome in Brennan O'Neill. He won a Tewaaraton Award at Duke. You're the only collegiate player for Team USA. What was this experience like, playing with and against the best in the world?
Obviously, it makes my job easy because all these guys are such great players. I just kind of play off them, and I'm learning so much from them. They have so much experience, and it's just a lot of fun getting to know these guys.
Brennan, what's it like behind the scenes? You know, in the dorms, at practice, on the buses. What are you trying to pull from some of the veterans?
I mean, just how you hold yourself. They're such great guys. All of them are just good people, and they treat me so nice. They treat me like an equal, and I'm just having so much fun hanging out with them on and off the field, so I can't wait to get back at it.
Brennan, you seem so zen right now. You scored a hat trick for Team USA, and you're the youngest guy on the team. Was there any pinch yourself kind of moment for you tonight?
Yeah, obviously, anytime you wear the red, white, and blue, a lot of nerves, you know, butterflies going into it. So I think anytime you put this jersey on, it's always a nerve-wracking experience. But you just want to play with pride and play for your country.
Brennan, Canada and the U.S. are probably destined to face one another again. What happened there at the end when the game went final and the 2 teams crossed and there was some words and pushing and shoving? Like, what is that like?
I'm not too sure what really happened, what started it, but, you know, we're all competitive guys. We want to win so bad that sometimes, you know, it gets a little chippy, and that's just how the game goes. But nothing but respect for those guys. They're great players, and it was a great game.
Brennan, you had a great game. Congratulations. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
3 goals for Brennan O'Neill, Tewaaraton Award winner.
Look at the defense in the second half. USA holding Canada to 1 goal over the last 30 minutes.
This, again, is usually a 2-parter. There's a sequel coming, probably in the gold medal game, but the United States gets the first one. 7-5, the final score.
And because of that, it's all about building. It's taking this game here and making improvements, finding those lines that can click, maximizing the connection and the interactions, U.S. and Canada.
This was the first of 107 games. You can watch them all on the ESPN networks and on ESPN+. Good night from San Diego.